showing up to defend Kauai pro bono. So in sum, I just like to offer my availability to any of my council members, or my council members, Zendo Kern, or anybody else who's interested in getting to know the details of the bill or what's happening on Kauai. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're going to Pahoa next. Please introduce your first two testifiers.
First, we have Ken Healer representing Mother Earth, and following him will be Mr. Dave Kaiser representing himself, both in support of Bill 109.
Aloha, High Chiefs of Hawaii Island. My name is Kenneth Paul Peeler. I go by Super Kenny, and I am representing Mother Earth. You've heard me before speak before you. I appreciate every chance, every opportunity I get to speak on my heart. Today, I would like to thank you for passing Bill 113. Amazing. It set a standard in the United States. Amazing. I am overjoyed. Here we go into the state legislative session, and the state is going to start making decisions, and I would like to put full emphasis on passing this bill also to set a standard and make a statement to the state of Hawaii and also to the nation of the United States that we don't need like people like Clarence Thomas that has been Monsanto's CEO and whatnot and everything. We all know the science behind it has been, we've been lied to. We all know all the stuff. We've gone through this since the spring of 2013, and I've been involved with it, and I really appreciate everything that you all have done. I watched the progress and how you brought in experts, and you learned so much, and we all learned so much. But the bottom line is that for over 10 decades, half a century, these corporations have been lying to us. They have quieted the scientific reports. They have basically, I don't trust them. So I have two things I'd like to propose. One, pass this bill. Yes, pass this bill. Number two, or that part of number one is not a bill that goes along with this and everything, but a separate, totally pass this bill. But a separate thing would be to, and I'd like to volunteer. I'm a scientist, I'm very educated, I'm an environmentalist, but I also believe in property rights and people having to make a living and stuff. We've seen through this 8, 9, 10 months of going through this process that people have been offering their services to help these farmers that have GMO stuff on their property. And what are they going to do for their livelihood and this and that? There's organic farmers. I call them conventional farmers. I call them just regular farmers. And anyways, that's number one is I think we should have something after this bill is passed, a separate bill that says we get people together in the lowest manner of fashion that doesn't use the council's time, maybe one council member, and then volunteers such as myself to go through and help each community, each people on their land and help them grow normal food. Number two, I'd like to plant the seed of industrial hemp. It's something that it's a weed and it can grow in almost no water. We're having a drought and various things, and it's one of the most versatile plants on the planet. And I think with the way that things have gone in the past just 1 year, Colorado, Washington, and now Obama saying this and that about, oh, it's less harmful than alcohol. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
My name's Dave Kaiser. I'm in support of 109. It's a hard act to follow, so I'll probably try not to. Anyway, okay. I'll get this toad in my throat. Anyway, like I said, I'm in support of 109, and I personally, like Kenny said, there was no science that was used to you know, to develop these things other than monkey with genes. They said, we believe that it is no different than the original that they were copied from, but how could they have gotten them patented if they were not significantly different? That I see as a, you know, I don't know how they could have done that. But nature doesn't have what they put in it. So, oh, sorry, I'm easily distracted right now. But, where was I? Oh, yes. Nature just doesn't have this garbage, but I think I derailed myself. I'm very good at that. Okay, yes, I might as well wrap this up. We just do not need these damn things on our island. We don't even need them, period. Okay, well, that's it.
Thank you very much. We're now going to Kohala. You've got one testifier. Please introduce them.
Yes, good afternoon, Chair. Our currently only one testifier signed up is Mr. David Cottis, speaking in support of Bill number 109, representing Mother Nature, Ka'aina, and future generations.
I also thank the council and the mayor, surprisingly, for passing Margaret Willie's anti-GMO bill. It's a giant step forward for the natural health and happiness of virtually everyone living here on the Big Island. The only real losers were those megalithic multinational corporations determined to monopolize and maximize profits from the business of supplying our entire world with what people put in their mouths, sometimes called food, but in the case of the GMO biotechs, more appropriately called disaster. In my opinion, Monsanto has repeatedly proven that it is not interested in the real health, welfare, and happiness of 99% of Earth's inhabitants. Monsanto repeatedly has demonstrated that its top priority is money and power at the expense of and through the exploitation of the future natural integrity of planet Earth and her inhabitants. To this end, Monsanto has engineered a gigantic scheme to spread its man-made viruses from farm to farm without regard for the harmful results, but solely to gain ever more control over land, property, and agribusiness. Even with Margaret Willie's bill passed, we have not seen the last of Monsanto and the other biotechs on this island. They have their toe in the door with the GM papayas and the cattle ranchers' GM corn, and they're very clever at spreading their viruses from such beginnings. Therefore, I too still support a bill which would blanket outlaw any GMO on this island. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We're coming back to Kona. We have Benjamin Cone. Please come forward. And then we will go back to Hilo. So get your person ready. And after Hilo, Pahoa. Mr. Cone, please introduce yourself. There's a bar on the bottom. You just press it and a bright green light will come on. Introduce yourself and then go ahead with your 3 minutes of testimony.
Okay. Aloha County Council, my name is Benjamin Cohn. I'm in support of this bill, and thanks for passing the last bill, and have a great day.
Thank you. We're going back to Hilo. I believe is your last testifier.
That's correct, Madam Chair. Our last
Please,
testifier in Hilo is Hanale Fergustrom, and he's representing Nakupuna Moku o Keawe, commenting on Bill 109.
Aloha. Aloha, council members, and thank you for allowing me to testify today. You've seen me around before. I'm a very consistent person. I am Hanalei Ferguson.
Excuse me, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you pull that microphone closer to you so we can catch every word?
Okay, thank you. They just brought
Thank
it
you so
closer
much.
to me.
Go ahead and start him over again.
Okay, so we're going to start again. Thank you very much for having me, and hello to all the council members, and thank you for the wonderful job that you've been able to do to try to protect our island. I'm Hanalei Ferguson. I am the spokesperson for Nakapuna Moko Keawe, which is a representative group from all 6 districts of the island of Hawaii. We are in support of Bill 106, and I appreciate the efforts of the County Council and Margaret Woolley and Brenda Ford, and the other members who have taken the lead to protect our island and to protect home rule. And this gets into a whole bunch of complications because, as you know, the state legislature is introducing a package that would take away home rule when it comes to things like GMO legislation in the county. This is very, very problematic. We've discussed this before. But again, these are multinationals with mega bucks, and they don't rightly care what you think. And so for myself, you are our last line of defense on the Big Island. If everything gets over to be Honolulu-centric, then people like myself are not going to be able to afford to even go to testify. And so I appreciate what we're doing here, but I hope that the county has taken measures to get a legal team together to make sure that our county does not lose its power to be a county council for the island of Hawaii, as well as the other islands doing similarly. This is not just an issue for this island. Like the other speakers spoke before me, this is what's happening on Kauai is very tragic. We don't need to have that spread any further. And this gets into more than just agriculture, as the prior speaker spoke about. It gets into the water, it gets into the streams, it's killing off the reefs. We're an island nation, and we need to be able to preserve that right without having to be under the gun of special legislation coming out of the state legislature, who's receiving great deals of side money. One of the things that I complain about, which I'm glad that the county has been able to achieve, which I can't understand why the state has not been able to achieve, is these county meetings be able to be coordinated in such a manner. Not even the state has this feature, which I believe that we should encourage them to do so. This is ridiculous that we have to keep running from island to island to testify, and then have to limit it to 3 minutes. And another thing that I have come to find out over the last year, I've been studying the Uniform Information Practices Act, or the Sunshine Laws, and I've been finding some very disturbing things about how the records are kept. And without those records, counter moves in the courts are not going to be able to be made if there are no records available. And so I encourage you to keep what you're doing and to support Gary Hoosier and other county members who are fighting for home rule also. And it is certainly that we do not need GMOs in this island. And yes, we do have papayas here. I believe that to be phased out quite easily. And quite frankly, they're only using the ranchers to say that they need GMO corn. That is not so. There are other ways of getting feed here. I come from a ranch land. I'm a white male boy. I was raised as a boy, so I understand animal husbandry very well, as well as farming. And so I encourage you to keep up the fight, and I appreciate your efforts. And again, I'm Hanalei Ferguson. I'm certainly available to support this council in any manner which I can, and I do volunteer my services. And thank you very much, and hello to all the gang and all the different parts of the island that are coming out to testify. Mahalo and Nui.
Thank you, sir. We're moving to Pahoa. Please introduce your last 2 speakers.
First, we have Ms. Joyce Bolena representing herself. Following her will be Mr. Support of Bill 109.
Thank you, council, chairman, and all members of the council. I have to thank, with deep appreciation, Councilwoman Brenda Ford for authoring and introducing Bill 109. We don't have high expectations for the success of Bill 109, and I have to chide this council that Councilwoman Margaret Willey found it necessary to withdraw Bill 79 and introduce and get passed Bill 113. It's something. Bill 113 is something. It isn't complete. Bill 109 is complete in what we want, what we deserve to have here as citizens of the county, the state of Hawaii, and the United States of America. We have the right to grow our own food in a clean and organic manner. The big companies that produce the GMO seed and the crops, and also produce all the chemicals attending these crops, don't have the right to introduce their poisons and their bad crops, and I'm going to call them bad crops because that GMO science is so incomplete that, to me, there was no legal right to put the GMOs on the market when they did. Hand in glove industry with crooked politicians. That's what we have here in the state, here in the county, and here in America, in our country. That's what we have to get rid of. This is an election year, folks. Understand it.
Thank you for the hard work that you do.
Again, I thank Mrs. Willey for, even though she had to water down 79 to create 113, I thank her for sticking to her guns as many as she could, although her ammunition was derailed. Our ammunition was derailed. Our rights were derailed. I'm going to say to you, give 109 a favorable recommendation and pass it 2 readings in council. I'm also going to chide the Environmental Management Commission for sending a terse 1-paragraph letter with their explanation of what they think of Bill 109 when they kept it for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. This isn't what we pay people to do for us. And this isn't what we pay you, our council members, to do to us either. Again, thank you for these 2 ladies for what they've done. Thank you for passing 113, pass 109. It's a better bill. It says no more GMOs after 30 months. The state legislature has to pass a law that stops the use of, I can't pronounce this correctly, glyphosate or glyphosate, whatever it is, the Roundup kind of chemical that makes people really ill. We have to get that passed. We have to pass a lot of environmental issue laws now to save our sanity, ourselves, and our environment. Thank you.
Aloha Council, my name's Greg Smith from Puna, and we need to pass 109. You know, again, it's good that we have 113, but it's very interesting to me and quite ironic that certain members of this council were loyal to a bunch of people, namely the dairy farmers and the papaya growers, that are actually going out of business. No amount of GMO at this point can save those 2 industries until they've changed their basic tillage methods. Because, in case you folks have not noticed, the last 24 months, the price of oil per barrel has been hovering around $100 a barrel, no less than 86. The fact is that both these industries, both the GMO corn for the dairymen and, of course, our dear friends, the papaya growers, have skyrocketed. Every one of the chemicals they use, pesticides, herbicides, and fertilizers alike, are petroleum-based, either out of crude oil or natural gas. The fact of the matter is, if you look at the records from the U.S. Department of Agriculture, National Agricultural Statistics Services, you will see, for the state of Hawaii, you will see that, 15 years ago, we had 20 dairies in the state of Hawaii. Today, we have 2. Both are in financial problems, and both could possibly go out of business within the next few years, no matter how many GMOs they plant. The same is with papayas. Again, in 1998, when the GMO papaya was introduced, the industry made $17 million. As of 2013, they have made $5 million. This is, why are we even bothering with GMO? The GMO didn't save the papaya industry, and the GMO is never going to save the dairy industry. Now, if the dairy industry wants to save itself, it should go to organic dairy. Because if you put good milk, organic milk on the shelves, you can't keep it there. But they are trying to do, this dairy operation, they are trying to compete with Walmart for a gallon of milk at $6 a gallon, where local produced milk costs $7.50. It doesn't work. In any case, do pass 109. Let's protect ourselves and, against these chemical companies, and also, and just protect ourselves against being poisoned and killed. Mahalo.
Thank you very much. That's the end of the public testimony. I have a few comments to make about our protocol, and then I will be handing over the chair to the vice chair of this committee, which is Margaret Willey. And the reason for that is I wrote this bill, and I have to turn off the chairmanship in order to talk about it. But I want to clear up a problem of the protocol for the public in case the misinformation published in Honolulu confused anyone. So I'm not going to talk about the bill, I'm just going to talk about generic protocols. When you name a department or an agency as a county of Hawaii, our charter says that as an enforcement arm, that agency must have either a board or commission in order to file an appeal, which is why I chose environmental management. Our protocol said that we had to send this bill over to the Environmental Management Commission, which we did. It came back, and now it's on the table today. This was not any ulterior motive on the part of anybody, especially me. And so I just wanted to let the public know what the protocol is. Ms. Willie, will you please take over the chair?
Let the record show that I've assumed the chairmanship, and I'm going to open this for discussion, and starting with Ms. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Ishida. I'll give you a couple seconds. Hold on.
I'll read it. Do we want to read it back in?
Hold on. This is live on the floor.
Please be ready.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Bill 109, amends Chapter 14, General Welfare, Hawaii County Code 1983, 2005 edition, as amended, by adding a new article relating to the restriction of genetically modified organisms. From Councilmember Brenda J. Ford, dated August 13, 2013, prohibits the cultivation, development, or use of any genetically modified organism, GMO, or to genetically modify any specific or non-specific parts of an organism's genome. Exempt state or federally licensed medical or agricultural research institutions, provided all activity is located in a biosafety level 3 containment facility. Allows those currently engaged in GMO practices to continue for a period of 30 months, provided operations are not increased or expanded, and that those operations be registered with the Department of Environmental Management within 90 days of the effective date of the ordinance, with a registration fee of $100 per location per year. Refer to Department of Environmental Management and Environmental Management Commission, September 23, 2013. Note there is a pending motion by Mr. Yoshimoto and duly seconded by Mr. Onishi to recommend passage of Bill 109 on first reading. And Communication 385.209 from Environmental Management Commission Chair Ann Lee, dated October 31st, 2013, submitting comments and recommendations.
Okay, Ms. Ford.
Bill 109 is already live on the floor. I'm going to ask for a little latitude in the time because I'd like to explain a few things. First of all, I am not challenging Ms. Willie's Bill 113, which I did vote for. I'm not trying to undo that bill. We presented our bills simultaneously, and mine, because it was designated as Department of Environmental Management as the enforcement arm,
was sent over to their commission for their comment, and it has returned. I'm absolutely grateful to Ms. Willie for writing Bill 113 and for the council for passing it. Even though I feel it's not as strong as I would like to see it, and certainly a lot of the public would like to see it. My initial intent when we put my Bill 109 over to Environmental Management was when it came back, was to send it to the ad hoc committee. But we didn't form an ad hoc committee, so now it's back in front of the committee, and we're going to have to deal with it here. I have no illusions as to what's going to happen, but I would like to explain a few things. First of all, throughout the discussion of Bill 113 and 109, I kept saying that Margaret's Bill 113 was not enforceable, and I was wrong. And I also said that my bill was enforceable. Margaret said hers was. I went to Mr. Ishida, who I've called forward, and said, who's correct? And his response at that time is, you are both correct. Both of your bills are enforceable. But he explained to me why. There's a different enforceability track, if you will, or track, not T, track. And so I've asked him if he's got some new information to please come forward and explain the difference between the enforcement in Margaret's Bill 113 versus my Bill 109. Mr. Ishida, would you identify yourself, please?
Good afternoon, Lincoln Ishida, Corporation Counsel. Ms. Ford, what you said is I just need to qualify that both bills as presented independently are enforceable.
Yes, I understand.
just want to make that clear, but today the situation is obviously dramatically different since 113 is law. I don't know how far you want me to get into this area, but the bottom line is this, guys. I think there are some risks in having two bills covering the same subject matter, both passed, and on your worst day what happens is they cancel each other out and neither bill becomes enforceable. At that point, I looked at some cases. There's a recent, when I say recent, 1992 Hawaii federal court case, which piqued my interest only because when I reread Ms. Ford's bill, it does have criminal penalties. And anytime there's criminal law ramifications, the Constitution makes clear, for equal protection purposes, you cannot have two laws covering the same subject matter. So, that's a short thumbnail version. I don't know how far you want me to get into that.
Mr. Ishida, when we talked during that last conversation, you explained to me that Margaret's Bill 113 went from whoever was having the problem directly to a court of law. Okay?
Yeah.
There's no enforcement in R&D. Excuse me. Excuse me,
point of order, you have the chair speaking.
So,
Respect the chair.
try to keep it to Bill 109. I'm happy to do that and not, because already you're saying things that I would want to qualify as to how I view 113, and I don't think we really want to be getting into that here. So I'm happy to give you a latitude in terms of time as to how you see there are differences that you think, there may be amendments in the future. So just promoting 109, what's in 109, without paraphrasing or getting into your views of 113.
Ms. Willie, the reason I called Mr. Ishida up here is to relay the conversation that we had that I was not allowed to discuss before.
Okay, well, I don't see that conversation is appropriate.
Actually, it is, but I will try to refrain
with my decision here.
Thank you, Ms. Willie. Mr. Ishida, when I designated the Department of Environmental Management and as a policy-making board, the council is allowed to assign duties to them. It was my intent that if a person had a problem with GMO whatever, that they would make a complaint to the Department of Environmental Management, they would do their investigation, they would issue citations if necessary, they would do whatever we have to do. Handling it at the county level. Is that the normal procedure when we are dealing with something where we designate an enforcement arm as one of our departments and provide them not only with the policy that establishes them as the enforcement arm, but gives the penalties and all of those things?
Yes, that's one method. There are other boards, for example, within the county that are designated that responsibility of adjudicating administrative remedies at the county level. I think that's your question, right?
Yes. In the case of planning, and I think Public Works, it's the Board of Appeals.
That's
For
correct.
Environmental Management, it's the Environmental Management Commission.
Fire Board of Appeals for the
Right.
fire department.
And the Fire Commission, and the Police Commission, those types of things.
Only limited for, yeah, okay, we'll
Yeah.
get into that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so that was the reason I chose environmental management. Of course, they have said they don't have the time or the money to do this, among other things. All right, so the other thing that I had hoped that we would do was amend the former bill, which hasn't happened, so that's the way that goes. But an issue that is coming up that was alluded to by some of the testifiers is the fact that there are members of our state legislature that have expressed public intent to do preemption bills to overturn both Kauai and our bill, which is now an ordinance, which is Margaret's Bill 113, which is a serious problem. Doesn't matter whether it's her bill, my bill, or anybody else's bill. These preemption attempts are very drastic and very dangerous to our home rule situation. So I wanted to go over some of the things in this bill that was different than what we've passed, and I am not trying to trash the former bill. I think it's a great bill. I'm glad we passed it, and as I said, I voted for it. Okay, so I used environmental management because it had the enforcement arm and the appeal arm. One of the exemptions I said in my bill was that they could continue to do research, which I think is absolutely vital, that research in this subject continue. But they couldn't grow these things outside. They had to use a biosafety level 3 containment facility. I also said 30 months, and there's no more GMO any place on the island. That people had to register with the department, being the Department of Environmental Management, within 60 days of the passage of this bill. And I put in the civil fines. Those are in there so that if it didn't work, if people were not being receptive to environmental management enforcing the law, that there could be either contested case hearings or they could go to a court of appeal, a court of, what do you call that, competent jurisdiction. And the director could also institute civil action on his or her own part.
Let me just say, I'm giving you a couple extra minutes, but I want you to be moving towards wrapping up.
Thank you. The reason I chose environmental management is that in order to get rid of GMO, we need to use best practices for decomposition, and composting is the choice, because you can specify the number of months something has to be composted in order to break down things like pesticides, fungicides, and insecticides. They have different time frames for their breakdown. And there was a penal enforcement. Because we have already passed a law in this county, I have no doubt that this will be voted, my Bill 109 will be voted down. But I wanted to make clear that there are very distinct differences between the bills, and the public has been asking for something more drastic. These bills are in 2 different sections of the code, okay? And so Mr. Ashita, I think, is completely correct that if we pass both of these bills, that we basically kind of nullify both of them. And that is not my intent. I'm hoping that this council will watch what is going on and decide that perhaps we need to strengthen the ordinance that we now have in place with some of the provisions of this bill. And with that, I'm going to yield the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that statement, would you just like to withdraw the bill? Since you just stated that with it passing, it contradicts. Madam Chair, would Councilmember
Yeah,
Ford...
she can answer.
Thank you very much. No, I'm not going to withdraw the bill. I want all of us to be on record how we voted on this bill.
Thank you, Councilmember Floyd.
Okay. Councilmember Kern?
Thank you. I'm going to be super brief because I think we should wrap up this issue. We've spent months and months and months on GMO. We did pass Bill 113. We moved forward with that. This one obviously had to come back up due to its process. I think we should just vote on it and move on with it because we've spent a lot of time and money on this, and we did produce something. So with that, I yield.
Yes, Ms. Poindexter?
Okay, yeah, I'm agreeing with Councilmember Kern, and I'm going to be waiting to hear your final wrap-up on this, and your comments. I would appreciate. Thanks.
Ms. Eo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to state for the record that my vote, my no vote, reflects my understanding that at this point in time we have adopted an ordinance, and it would be more appropriate in the future to amend that ordinance if need be. And at this point, I think we need to enforce it. Thank you.
Okay. If there no further discussion, I'll make a few comments, then we'll take the vote. I think, just to be clear, in terms of Bill 113 and 109, I tried to keep us in what's the status quo, such that we do have further issues to look at, whether it's coexistence, whether it's sunsetting. So I don't want those, and I know that there was many who did support Bill 109 over Bill 113, to feel that this is the end of the line. At the same time, I want to reinforce the comments that were made that we need to defend what we have and our right to do what we did do. And that's in terms of home rule and preemption. And yes, both my senator, Malama Solomon, and Clarence Nishihara have made it clear that they want to eliminate, take away this home rule, and will be introducing being called the Protect Monsanto Act that's going to be coming forward. But anyway, that we preserve our own power to make decisions, and that we will be looking further ahead and see what changes should be made. Let me just say, I am also working with people in the university, looking at things, how do we proceed as an island, where we're proceeding as problem solvers and not in trying to avoid a lawsuit, or in other words, an adversarial position. And I'm working on that right currently. Let me say, the lead attorney for the case against Kauai, or Marjorie Brunster, she advised me, 2 of the seed companies has asked her to look into our bill and what she could do with respect to it. So I think we mentioned one other thing is that we looked at what genetically modified seed. Right now, there's a lot of concern in terms of pesticides and the inadequate regulation of those. Josh Green has a bill in that would put a moratorium on glyphosate for 5 years, and there are other bills. So I think that this is a big issue. It's bigger than us, and I'm just really looking that we preserve our right for what we did, and that we look at all options from coexistence to sunsetting, and stand by our own rights to make these decisions. So thank you, Ms. Ford. I appreciate your seeking to represent the voice of many, as we all represented many different voices here, from my council member Iligan and Onishi, and everyone here had different voices, and we're all trying to do what we think is for the best. Okay, so I think we'll move and take the vote.
Ms. Eo? No. Mr. Iligan?
No.
Mr. Kern?
No.
Mr. Onishi? Ms. Poindexter?
No.
Ms. Willie? No. Mr. Shimano? And there, Chair Ford?
Aye.
Chair Ford, you have 1 aye, 6 noes, 1 excused, 2 excused.
Madam Chair, move to adjourn.
Order.
I don't know that we have two excused. We certainly have Mr. Kanuha's excused. I don't know where Mr. Yoshimoto
Miss-
is, or whether he
excuse
has
me.
an excuse.
Mr. Yoshimoto will be here in 5 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, the vote's just been taken. Well, one absent, then Mr. Yoshimoto is absent, and Mr. Kanuha is excused, for the record.
Move to adjourn?
Excuse me, point of order. Does he have a note to excuse himself?
Who are you referring to?
Mr. Yoshimoto. Is that what you're recording, that he's absent?
She just said absent.
He's just after, he's not in the council room, so, and he doesn't have a note, so.
Thank you. I just wanted clarity on that, thank you.
Move to adjourn?
Mr. Young?
Aye.
Mr. Elegant?
Aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Aye? Aye.
You have